Indeed, it is Rekha, Basu from the Des Moines Register, as we are going to be talking about what's in the news today.
We are indeed. Well, there's so much in the news today. My gosh, there's the Pope's visit in D.C., which one?
Did you see I'm going to go off topic here
just for a second.
Fine. Just for a second. Did you see, we were talking about this earlier, Jackie had a story about the Pope's approval ratings?
It's 73% or something?
Yeah. There's some people that don't approve of the Pope?
Well,
really?
Yeah, because they're old guard. You know, they want to stick to the sort of traditional confines that dictates that you have to be shamed the rest of your life if you had an abortion, or, you know, if you're gay, we hate you. I mean, not hate you, but, you know, that there's no tolerance whatsoever for deviation, whereas the Pope says, who am I to judge? And that women who have had abortions.
I was going to say, the conservatives seem to be the ones that
Exactly. I happen to love this Pope, and, you know, I'm not much of a religion person one way or the other, but I just really love his humility, and I love the fact that he does what I think religions should do, which is speak for the poor and the disenfranchised and be humble and not live this elevated lifestyle.
Did you see when he got off the plane in the United States, instead of having a limousine or a Pope mobile, got into a Fiat?
Yeah, I know, I love that.
President Barack Obama is introducing him right now and having a big speech, and he says, "You are shaking us out of our complacency." So, you know, saying wonderful things about the Pope and what he's doing.
My younger son is out there in that crowd of thousands. Yeah.
How much do you have to pay for the ticket?
No, because he works for an agency. He actually
the free tickets they were scalping.
So, but he had to get up at 4 this morning to get in line because there was so much security.
I believe
and such long
it's
lines,
becoming one of the biggest security issues they've ever had here in America.
All right. So
and actually, I am going to be in New York on Friday. The Pope is going to be speaking at Madison Square Garden that night, and I'm desperate to go, but you know, it's only by invitation. So I'm trying to get a press pass, but I haven't heard back
Drop
yet.
Jason's name, that'll help.
I will, I'll say, hey, I know him. Fine meteorologist, upstanding fellow, who also washes the feet of the poor and the inmates.
Well, you know, you're so right about that, and a lot of what Jesus talks about in the New Testament is helping the poor, and I mean, that's a good point. There's other things that he said that I can understand why old guard Catholics are freaking out, but yeah, I think he's done some good, certainly.
Well, and I think, you know, and this is the thing that I fear that a lot of religion has moved away from and is more into sort of hatred and disapproval and, you know, barring people from this or that. And that's actually a fairly good segue to the column that I wrote today, which we're going to be talking about, which is this whole anti-Muslim sentiment that's being driven right now by presidential candidates. So, you know, I Meet the Press over the weekend. Ben Carson said that he could not support a Muslim person being president in the U.S., and a whole succession of candidates said at the Iowa Faith and Freedom dinner various things about they wouldn't want to accept Muslim refugees from Syria. Now, if they're refugees, I mean, they're really in bad shape. They're fleeing bloodshed in their homes. They have no home. Why would we be so intolerant that we'd say we accept one group of people from one religion but not others? I mean, isn't everyone supposed to be the same in their
back in the late 50s, I guess they polled the people in the United States, and they said they would not support a Catholic president.
Right, exactly.
Okay? And then what happened when JFK came around?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, why are we picking on the Muslims right now?
Why are we picking on them? Well, I mean, I think people are associating them with terrorism, but I think that that is just very unfair to make that blanket association of every Muslim individual with their religion first, rather than just as human beings.
But isn't that what Barack Obama practices? Isn't he?
Islam? You're not serious, Jackie. You are not serious.
But I mean, excuse me. Let me retract that so I don't get emails and all kind of stuff. He supports the Muslim, and he's worked hard to build up acceptance of them in D.C. and areas like that. Wasn't there a big deal about them having a building and a place and things like that in D.C.? No, am I completely wrong? Okay, never mind. Just strike the whole thing.
Oh, there was a.
Oh, in New York, there was a question about a mosque going up near the Twin Towers, but I don't think Obama had any say in that.
Never mind. Strike it.
But Jackie, to your point, and actually this is a very good illustration, there has been a concerted effort by some people on the far right to link Obama to Islam, to claim that he is Muslim, to claim that he wasn't born in this country, that he's not even American, and these issues keep coming up. Trump, in fact, refuses still to disavow that notion that Obama is a Muslim, just to spew hatred. It's not like there's this great love for Muslims in this country right now. So, yes, I mean, my point is, there is ISIS is horrible, and beheadings and all of that stuff are completely inexcusable, and we should be at war with ISIS in whatever ideological way we can, or I don't know about military way, but we should not be waging war on individual Muslims. And this is what's coming out in all of this rhetoric. We couldn't tolerate a Muslim who's president. We don't trust Muslims. Muslims should be not allowed in if they're refugees fleeing war and violence in their countries. And Donald Trump not refuting a man who said in one of his audiences recently, we have a problem in this country and it's Muslims. What are you going to do about it? And Trump didn't refute him, So I start out this column in a rather personal way, talking about the Muslims who I have known. I have known one person who was killed in a terrorist hijacking of an airplane, and that was a Muslim man. And that was back in the 1980s. And he was a professor. He was my professor, as a matter of fact, and he subsequently became a good friend. He got me, to teach the same program that he had taught earlier. And he had a wife and a child, and they had nothing to do with any kind of agenda like that. And then I interviewed one widow after September 11th in New York of the Twin Towers collapse. He had been a waiter at Windows on the World when the plane hit the building and it came crashing down. She had just given birth, and the day after. And here she is grieving and mourning. And then I had a friend in middle school who was beautiful and popular Muslim friend from Pakistan, the most popular with the boys, the hippest, the coolest. We have these gross stereotypes about who Muslims are, what they look like, how they behave, and it's just so wrong in a pluralistic country like ours. And even Bill O'Reilly was asked later, about Ben Carson and what he had said about not supporting a Muslim president. And what's O'Reilly's response? Well, we were founded as a Judeo-Christian nation, so I don't know if a Muslim could uphold our values. Well, can I uphold American values, as a journalist? As a person who speaks about issues, I wasn't born Christian. I'm not Christian. I wasn't born in America. But I think I have a right to speak about stuff.
Well, of course you do.
Because I've been around, and, I uphold the same democratic values as anyone else. So,
to be fair, though, they've done a lot of this. A lot of this is a PR problem, and a lot of this is their fault. When you fly planes into buildings and things like that.
Okay, but can you blame every individual Muslim for what some radical, extremist Muslims have done? Just the same way, can you blame every Christian for this gay bashing stuff that we keep hearing about and talking about? For the ones who refuse to serve gay couples in their establishments? Of course not. That's not Christianity. You may take issues with certain portions of the Quran or the Bible or whatever holy book, the Guru Granth in my religion, which is Sikh. But that doesn't mean that every person who was born into that faith is going to subscribe to those notions.
But that's what the perception is.
That's what the perception is, and it's a misperception, because there's a lot in Christianity that you could quibble with too. And so, I'm just saying, when we overreact like this, when, 14-year-old kid brings a clock to school in Texas.
Well, that we could have a whole different segment on.
We could, I have subsequently seen a picture of this clock, and it doesn't look very much like a clock. But when the police officers immediately figured out, or the FBI, whoever it was, immediately figured out that it was indeed a clock, then they should have let it go. But instead, they thought, well, he was just being provocative by bringing it in. How is he being provocative?
Well, even Bill Maher said this is
Bill Maher, I'm sorry, but he is not on my good list. He is very incendiary when it comes to anything to do with Muslims.
Got to get eyeballs on the screen.
He's a case of he calls himself an atheist, and he upholds atheism, which is fine, but you don't have to do it by putting down people of faith.
Oh no.
And that's the problem here. You don't have to be a good Christian by putting down Muslims. You don't have to be a good Muslim by putting down Christians.
All right. So more details in the paper today.
More details.